is of the essence here, getting prepared and getting ready to take advantage of the new 2024 California Dream for All program. There are definitely some changes from last year versus this year. And the biggest one that I'll start out with is that it is a voucher program. It's a lottery voucher program. We have plenty of time right now to prepare and get ready for the April 1st launch of the registration for the California Dream for All program. And that's really what we're trying to communicate tonight, as to what it's going to be the steps to take advantage of this program and to be ready by the time April 1st comes around.
Now, first, let's for some of our listeners, they're not familiar still with Dream for All. Could you give us like a brief summary of what exactly Dream for All is?
Absolutely. So the California Dream for All program is a shared appreciation program that has a first-time homebuyer generational component to it, which is a major difference between this year and last year. If you are familiar with the program from last year, you know, the idea was that the program was going to last for about 2 to 3 months. There was $300 million that vanished in literally 11 days. So
so essentially for some of our listeners, Dream for All is actually a grant program wherein it will cover about 20% of your home purchase. From all the grants that are available actually to California home buyers, the 20% available through Dream for All is actually one of the largest. And the rules surrounding Dream for All is actually one of the friendliest, I would say. So it is really worth looking at or looking into this and getting stuff prepared before the April 1st deadline.
correct. So I will make a quick correction. It's not a grant, because sometimes the grants you don't have to pay them
Sure.
back. In this case, I'll use an example. Let's say you qualify for the program and you get the voucher, you win the lottery pick, and you go and you find your dream home for about 500,000. You could borrow up to 20% of that purchase price. In this case of 500,000 would be $100,000. You could use that 100,000 for down payment only. You could also use that down payment where you could put 18% down and use 2% to help you cover the closing costs of that transaction. That initial 100,000 is actually interest free. You don't need to make any payments for the life of the loan. But if you decide then, let's say 6 years later, that you want to sell the home that you bought, let's say in 6 years from now, the property is worth 600,000. There is that shared appreciation component. So let's say 6 years from now, you sell it and you have equity of 100,000. 20% of that 100,000, which is 20,000, would go to pay back the government, California, the 20%, and then you would keep that 80%, the 80,000 of that 100,000 equity gain. So what does this look like? So let's say 5 to 6 years, you've paid 30,000 into the initial 400,000 loan. Then you would owe $30,000 less. So in this case, you would have to pay back the initial 100,000 that the government gave you, plus the equity share, which is 20,000. So you would have to pay back the 120,000 back to the government, and you would keep the remaining balance. Of course, you would have to pay the initial Fannie Mae loan, which if you pay down the mortgage 30,000, you would owe $370,000. So you would walk away as a buyer with $80,000 that you could apply to your new home on a future purchase.
Guillermo, who can take advantage of this program in 2024, because that's also different from last year?
Well, it's like I said, it is a first time home buyer. So if you are a first time home buyer, never owned a property, um, then yes, you could qualify for this program. However, there is a first generation component to this, which was not the same as last year. And in what constitutes a first generation home buyer is this: first generation home buyer is defined as a home buyer who has not been on title, um, has held any type of ownership interest, or have been named on any mortgage to a home, either on a permanent foundation or owned land in the United States in the last 7 years, and to the best of the home buyer's knowledge, whose parents, biological or adoptive, do not have any present ownership interest in a home in the United States, or if deceased, whose parents did not have any ownership interest at the time of death of the home in the United States. Also, an individual who has at any time been placed in foster care or any type of institutional care, then they would also qualify for this program.
I want to say hello to some of our past clients actually who are watching right now. Hello. So actually, the other thing I wanted to say is it's about your relationship with a parent that has either owned or not owned a home. So, for example, if your eldest brother uh, already bought a home and brother number two bought a home, then you can still qualify because your parent has never owned a home.
Correct. So your siblings could be homeowners, but your parents cannot be own a house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did mention earlier when we were reviewing, uh, do you need to be a citizen to take advantage of this?
Actually, no. You could be. You don't have to be citizen. You don't have to. You do have to be here legally. So if you have a valid work visa, we would have to review, of course, the work visa. But the program, beyond the 20% down payment, you do have to qualify for the conventional loan that for this program, and it's based on a Fannie Mae loan. So with Fannie Mae, you don't have to be a citizen, right? If you have a work permit like a H-1B, say you're a software engineer and you have a you're
Work visa.
legally able to work here, then
Mhm.
then yeah, you would also qualify for this program.
Perfect. Um, Now, what are some of the other eligibility requirements like income, credit score?
So, as far as credit score is concerned, you need to have a minimum of a 680 FICO score. 680 is the minimum. If you have a 700 and above, that's fantastic because you have a little bit more flexibility with the debt to income ratio. You could go up to 50% versus being capped at 45% if you have a 680 FICO score. Um, yeah,
Just one thing. So if my credit score, for example, is 660, I'm just a few points under the 680, would a rapid rescore a lot? And if I do it now, would I be able to rapid rescore by the time April 1st comes around?
absolutely. I mean, it's
Okay.
possible. It's
All
possible
right.
to do a rapid rescore. That's why it's very important to start preparing now, because
Okay.
the portal. I'll just jump into this. The portal opens up in April 1st, and they're going to give you an entire month to get ready to finish this. Now, you don't want to procrastinate that part. You don't want to go in on the last day and sign up for that, because errors could happen. You can make mistakes, and it seems that if you start by April 1st, you'll definitely have a shot at getting entered into the lottery, because it is a lottery.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens if you win the lottery?
Oh, well, if you win the lottery, the golden ticket, you have 90 days to find your new home. So within that 90 days, you don't have to find a home and close. You need to find a home. And once you're in contract, they're going to give you anywhere between 30 to 60 days to close that transaction. Um, I've been in meetings where they are talking that they're going to allow some extensions for that time frame, but they're really looking for home buyers that are going to be actively, really intentionally looking to buy. They don't want someone holding on to this lottery winning and not
And
not doing anything with it, because it's going to affect another home buyer potentially who really wants to buy the house. So
the
it's super
classes
important.
required.
Yeah. So to start out with, there's I don't know if I'm able to share this link,
Is
but
this the
it's
one?
yeah, it's the California Dream for All. This is what you want to start out with. If you go to that website, you could start and take. It's an hour class. It's going to take about 45 minutes to do. I've done it already. It took me about 45 minutes to do. It's not very difficult, but it's going to give you all the ins and outs and really provide a solid base foundation to understand this program as a consumer. That is the first thing that you need to do. So if you don't do this, you cannot register April 1st, and it's
Yeah.
free. They're not going to charge you on this one. Now, there is a home buyer workshop, which is estimated about an 8 hour home buyer workshop. That does cost $99, but I will refrain from having to register for that until you get that ticket. It's like that you're not wasting money.
Okay. And actually, they need to take this class. That's a first step. But alongside, they need to be doing their pre-qualification with you already so that by April 1st, they have your
Absolutely.
pre-approval already. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now they don't have to necessarily work with me, but if
Right.
they're working with their home with their preferred lender, they need to work with their lender that's qualified to do these loans in order for them to get ready, because the loan officer does have to fill out a pre-approval letter that they need to have ready when they upload and register online. So there's just going to be all these components that they're going to need to upload to the site.
And this is not a never ending. This is not a never ending kind of grant, right? Or
Correct.
process.
So
There's a limit. How many
there is
winners will there be?
there is an estimated. It's estimated that there's going to be about 2,000 winners of the program throughout the state, and I know that they're divvying it up via regions. I forget the how many in total regions are going to have, but I think
Anticipate.
it's like 6 regions. They just want to make sure that the funds are being evenly distributed throughout the state.
So I have a question from one of our audience. Is there a cap for the home price that you're gonna purchase?
There's no real cap. I think a lot of it's going to be based on income limits. So every county has a certain income limit, and obviously if you make too much money, that's going to be a cap. If you make not enough money, right, there's going to be some challenges in being able to afford. Let's say if you make 80,000, you're not going to be able to afford a $750,000 house. So, but I think that the best thing to gauge is um, to look at the California. Yeah, there are some income limits. Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
I have it
So
answered.
awesome. Yeah. So with that link, you'll be able to see how much. Like I'm just gonna click on this link right now, and give me a second. So Alameda, for example, the income limit for Alameda is 234,000. But in Sacramento, the income limit is 180,000. So that's really where the caps are going to be based on. It's really the income limit driven. So
All right.
now one thing to think about.
So, for example, we do have a lot of clients that are looking into the River Islands community,
Where is
uh,
that exactly?
San Joaquin County,
San
which
Joaquin.
is one
So
of the
yeah.
best.
So if I'm looking at San Joaquin County, the income limit for San Joaquin County is 158,000. And that would be, it's not necessarily a household income, because they're not going to look like, I know there's some loans out there, like USDA, where all the adults look at all the adults, not just the people that are on the application. So if you have 2 kids that are making money, they're going to look at that. They're really not. It's the applicant
Applicant.
that they're
Okay.
going to be looking. Now, let's say you have a couple that make 500,000, but right, but let's say you have an individual that only makes 158,000 and they want to buy a house in San Joaquin. You can't do that. You can't.
Because husband and wife makes a
Husband
hundred.
and wife, correct. But
Okay.
let's say you are a husband and wife that makes 158,000, then you'll qualify if you're in San Joaquin. Right. But here's the thing to think about. Let's say you're living in Hayward, and we know that in Hayward's in Alameda County. If you make 234,000 and you qualify for the program in Alameda County, and then you find the house in San Joaquin County where the limit is 158, then you're not going to qualify. So you got to be mindful of this.
What about Contra Costa County? We have somebody here asking,
Yeah.
and Ramon.
So Contra Costa is 234,000 as well. It's the same as Alameda County.
Okay. All right. Okay. And just because you qualify in one county, just remember it doesn't mean that you, for example, you live in San Ramon now. Yes, it's 240 something income limit. But if you buy in another county, the limit is actually based on where you're buying, the county where you're buying.
The program will allow for a one-time refinance. So if, let's say, interest rates go down to 4%, you're able to refinance it one time without triggering the payback.
Repayment.
Or, Now, let's say you bought a house and you want to pay off the 100,000 right away. If you pay off that initial, I'm just using the 100,000 as an example. If you pay back that initial 100,000, it's going to trigger the 20% accumulation
Shared
of
appreciation.
the shared appreciation. So you got to be mindful of that too. Now, if you have the ability to pay it off, that's fantastic. All right.
Okay.
But just keep in mind that the money that you're being lent, the loan for 100,000 comes with zero interest. It's like the cheapest
Correct.
money you could possibly get. So the interest really comes into the shared appreciation. But let's say you buy a house for 500,000 and you don't make any money. Let's say there's no appreciation and you sell the house. You do have to pay back that initial 100,000 that was given to you for the down payment and closing costs. But since there's no appreciation to it, there would be no appreciation added. So you wouldn't have to pay for anything.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, any
Did you
questions?
cover everything?
I'm sure there's a lot to cover always with this, but I think the most important component to this is do not procrastinate. Last year I had 3 families that successfully received this, and the way it's being designed right now is to last more than 11 days, and they want it to be a perpetual situation where the monies are being distributed evenly. But now they are just keep in mind you cannot lie about whether or not there's generational. If your parents own a house, you can't lie because it's really to the best of your knowledge. And I know that there's going to be affidavits to be signed during the loan
Yes,
doc process.
but there's a caveat to that. Does it have to be biological parents? So if you're a foster kid of someone who has a house, then you can qualify, right? Or we don't know.
Um, you know what? If you're a foster kid, then you're going to qualify for the program because there's the foster care, there's the institutional care component. Yeah, so
Okay.
if you're going to qualify for that. But if it's your from my best understanding, it is a biological parent, or a legal parent. I'm
Parents.
not 100% sure on the legal guardian, but that's a great question. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that a legal guardian does not count,
All
but
right.
your biological parents.
Well, we hit our time limit already. So, what I'm
Okay,
going to do is let people know if you are interested in this program, you can comment down below in our social media and we'll reach out to you individually. So, we are live streaming now in Facebook and actually YouTube. Reach out to me. Let me see. Here's our details again as well. Here you go. uh, Guillermo has his number there. But for me, you can comment below and we'll get back to you with more details about the program. But remember, do not procrastinate because the April 1st is important. With that,
absolutely.
with that, join us again next month for another one of our live stream. And we're wishing you have a good evening. Bye, Guillermo.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
Sheila. Thank you for having me on. Awesome.
Of course.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.